For most of the galaxy, humanity was an old story. A quiet species. Small territories. No loud fleets. No proud empires. The younger races barely remembered them at all. The Galactic Council ruled the stars with confidence. Their warships filled the main trade routes, and their laws reached every system that mattered. When humans were mentioned, it was usually with a laugh. A species that stayed silent for centuries was a species already defeated. But not everyone laughed. In the deepest archives of the Council Hall, an ancient record was discovered by accident. It was not written in one language, but many. Some were dead tongues, spoken by races that no longer existed. The message was short, repeated again and again, carved into metal and crystal. Do not attack the humans. If they are silent, it means the hunt is active. Most council members dismissed it immediately. Old warnings were common in ancient ruins. Fear stories. Exaggerations meant to protect weak worlds. One counselor suggested destroying the record. Another suggested selling it to collectors. A few elders, old and tired, said nothing at all. Their silence was heavier than words, but no one listened. To prove the warning was false, the council voted on a test. A human border colony was selected. Small population. No known defenses. Far from any major human world. The plan was simple: a quick strike, minimal damage, and a public announcement to show the galaxy that humans were no different from anyone else. The attack fleet arrived without resistance. Human defenses were outdated. Their orbital stations fell fast. Cities burned. The colony's distress signals were weak and short. Then everything went quiet. The council celebrated. Days passed. Then weeks. No response came from humanity. No fleet. No message. No threat. The galaxy relaxed. Trade resumed. The council declared the operation a success. Humans were officially labeled as a minor species, no longer protected by old treaties. But far beyond the colony, in regions no modern map cared to chart, ancient systems began to wake up. Human deep space stations activated for the first time in centuries. Silent beacons sent signals through dark space. Not fast. Not loud. Just precise. Somewhere, human commanders studied the attack. They did not shout. They did not argue. They did not rush. They simply marked a target. Meanwhile, the first strange reports arrived. A cargo ship vanished between two safe systems. No debris. No signal. Just gone. A patrol cruiser failed to return from a routine scan. Its last transmission showed nothing unusual. Empty stars. Clear space. The council blamed errors. Navigation failures. Bad luck. Then an entire listening post went dark. Still no alarms. Still no explosions. Only absence. A few old alien elders finally spoke. Their voices shook as they shared memories passed down through generations. Stories of a time when humans were young and afraid, and nearly destroyed. Back then, humans did not win wars with numbers or power. They won with patience. The elders tried to warn the council again. They explained the meaning of the ancient words. The eternal hunt was not a myth. It was a response. A system designed for one purpose only. If humans were attacked, they would not strike back in anger. They would erase the threat carefully, piece by piece. The council refused to believe it. Humans were still silent. Their space was still dark. No war declaration had been made. What no one understood was the truth. Human silence was never weakness. It was preparation. And the hunt had already begun. The Galactic Council tried to enjoy its victory. They broadcasted the human colony strike across the core worlds like a parade. Politicians smiled for cameras. Admirals stood tall in bright uniforms. The message was clear: the council could reach anyone, anywhere, and survive without consequences. At first, the galaxy believed it. Then the trade routes began to thin. A shipping company called Starline reported that one of its largest cargo haulers never reached the next gate. The ship was loaded with food and medical supplies. It had a full crew. It had a clean flight plan. The route was one of the safest in the sector. It simply vanished. The company filed a complaint. The council promised an investigation. Patrol ships were sent to scan the corridor. They found nothing. No wreck. No shattered hull. No bodies. No fuel trail. Not even a faint radiation scar, which normally lingered after an engine blowout. It was as if the ship had never existed. A week later, another ship disappeared. Then another. The council announced a new security effort. They blamed pirates. Pirates were an easy enemy. Everyone hated pirates. Everyone believed pirates. But pirates wanted profit. Pirates left survivors. Pirates demanded ransom. These vanishings had no pattern that made sense. Soon, military ships started going missing too. A small council patrol cruiser called Bright Spear failed to return after a border check. Its last message was calm. The captain reported clear sensors and nothing unusual. Then the transmission cut out mid-sentence, like someone had turned off the ship with a switch. The council sent 2 more cruisers to search the area. Only one came back. Its crew was shaken, pale, and strangely quiet. The surviving captain was brought before the council and asked what happened. He did not speak at first. Then, in a low voice, he described the moment his sensors screamed and went blind. A cold shadow slid across their screens. Not a normal ship signature. Not heat. Not mass the way they understood it. It was like space itself had decided to hide something. Their engines failed. Their weapons did not fire. Their shields flickered like candles in wind. Then a voice appeared on open channel, perfectly clear. Not shouting. Not threatening. Just calm words, spoken in perfect council standard. Return to your worlds. This corridor is closed. The captain said the voice did not ask. It stated. He tried to respond, but his comms died. His ship drifted. The stars looked normal, but the air inside the bridge felt heavy, like a storm about to break. Then, for a brief second, he saw it through the main viewport. A dark shape, wide, smooth, and wrong, floating near them, so close that it should have reflected their lights, yet it did not. It swallowed light instead. Around it, smaller shapes moved like silent fish. No engine glow. No sound. No warning. The captain swore he saw human markings on the hull. Old markings, like those from the first interstellar era. Symbols most people called museum art. The council did not like this story. They ordered him to stay quiet. They sealed the report. They told the public it was a pirate ambush. But rumors spread faster than laws. Soon, civilians started hearing strange things. In crowded ports, dock workers whispered about ghost fleets. Pilots spoke about navigation beacons that changed without updates. Traders said some jump gates felt colder now, like they were being watched. In one system, a council surveillance station went dark. It was protected by layered shields and constant monitoring. No one could approach it unseen. Yet it vanished from the network like a light turned off. A rescue team arrived and found the station still there, but empty. No bodies. No blood. No damage. Every chair was in place. Every screen was frozen mid-report. A cup of hot drink still sat on a console, cooled down as if left untouched for hours. Only one thing was different. On the main screen, someone had typed a single line. "You started it." The council panicked in private, but stayed proud in public. They ordered fleets to travel in larger groups. They locked down trade corridors. They increased weapons checks. They promised safety. But the disappearances continued, now more often. Some ships came back with strange marks burned into their hulls, like they had been held by invisible claws. Some ships returned without entire teams, as if people had been removed from inside without opening a door. And still, humanity said nothing. That silence was the most terrifying part. Because it was not the silence of fear. It was the silence of a hunter, already on the trail. Fear spread faster than truth. The Galactic Council could hide reports, seal files, and silence witnesses, but it could not stop the feeling that something was wrong. Every system felt tense. Every jump felt watched. Ships powered their weapons even during routine travel. No one trusted empty space anymore. At last, the Council did what it always did when control began to slip. It chose force. An emergency session was called. Holograms of admirals filled the chamber. Fleet counts were shared, routes marked, targets selected. The conclusion was simple and loud. If humans were behind the disappearances, then humans would be crushed completely. A massive strike fleet was formed, larger than any seen in centuries. Thousands of warships gathered from across Council space. Their engines lit the stars as they moved together, confident in their numbers. The target was a known human system, one of the oldest colonies still active. It was heavily populated. The Council believed that if humanity had any courage left, they would defend it. The fleet entered human space without resistance. No warning shots. No challenges. No fleets rushing to meet them. Human space was quiet. Too quiet. The first system was empty. Human stations were powered down. Planets showed cities, but no energy signatures. It looked like a graveyard of a living civilization. Some admirals called it proof of fear. Others felt uneasy but said nothing. As the fleet moved deeper, strange things began to happen. Navigation data drifted. Star maps disagreed with each other. Jump calculations took longer, as if space itself resisted their movement. Still, nothing attacked. Then, at the edge of the third system, the first ship stopped responding. Not destroyed. Not damaged. It simply went dead. The fleet slowed. Command demanded answers. Engineers reported full system failure across the ship. Power, weapons, life support, all gone at the same time. Before rescue teams could react, 3 more ships went dark. Then 10. Panic spread across the command channels. Admirals shouted orders. Ships turned to face empty space, firing into nothing. Weapons burned through energy reserves, but hit no targets. Sensors showed false contacts that vanished when approached. Then the human fleet revealed itself. They did not jump in. They were already there. Dark shapes appeared around the Council armada, close enough to touch. Massive ships, silent and still, as if they had always been part of the starfield. Smaller craft moved between them, cutting engines, docking, disabling. A human voice echoed across all channels at once. Calm. Clear. Unemotional. You have entered a closed hunting zone. Council admirals demanded negotiations. They threatened retaliation. They promised destruction. The voice did not respond. Human ships moved with terrifying precision. Weapons fired only when needed. No wasted shots. No chaos. Council ships were disabled, not destroyed. Engines cut. Weapons locked. Crews trapped inside powerless hulls. Boarding teams arrived in silence. Humans wore dark armor with no markings except one simple symbol, repeated again and again. A mark older than the council itself. The mark of the hunt. Captured crews were restrained but not harmed. Medical scans were performed. Data was copied. Every system, every command log, every identity was recorded. The council realized the horror of it too late. Humans were not here to win a battle. They were here to collect information. Entire fleets were left drifting, alive but helpless. The human ships vanished as suddenly as they had appeared, leaving no trace of how they came or went. The survivors were eventually rescued. They carried one shared message. Humans had known the fleet was coming. They had allowed it. They had waited. And now, they understood something chilling. The disappearances were not random. They were the opening phase. The hunt was not about revenge or rage. It was about control. And the galaxy had just shown humans exactly who needed to be hunted next. The Galactic Council did not admit defeat publicly, but privately, the leaders were terrified. The Great Strike Fleet had not been destroyed. That was the strange part. Most enemies would have taken a victory and turned it into fire and rubble. Humans did not. They had disabled ships, taken captives, and vanished. That felt worse than destruction. Because it meant humans were thinking. In a sealed chamber beneath the council hall, a small group of captured council officials sat in silence. They were the high-value ones, intelligence directors, fleet planners, and the counselors who had pushed hardest for the human colony strike. They expected torture. Or death. Instead, they were treated like evidence. They were given water. Their injuries were cleaned. Their restraints were firm but not cruel. They were watched by human soldiers who never spoke unless needed. The chamber door opened. A human entered, wearing simple dark uniform. No medals. No pride. Just calm eyes and a quiet posture. Behind him, a screen lit up with ancient symbols. The human looked at them for a long time, as if measuring weight. Then he spoke. You want to know what you woke? One counselor spat and tried to act brave. This is war. We will crush you. The human did not react. He tapped the screen. The image changed into old recordings. Not council history. Older. The first clip showed a young humanity, fragile and scattered, building its early colonies. Another species appeared in the footage, an empire with shining ships and cruel order. They did not negotiate with humans. They hunted them for sport and profit. Planets burned. Refuge ships were chased. Families died in cold space. The counselors watched, uncomfortable. Some tried to look away, but the human did not allow it. This happened, he said. We begged. We offered trade. We offered surrender. They laughed. More footage played. Then came the moment that changed everything. The human home system, under attack, almost lost. A human commander gave a final order, not to charge, not to die in glory. To disappear. Humanity went silent across the stars. The council officials exchanged confused looks. This was the opposite of their belief. They thought silence meant weakness. The human continued. We learned something. When you fight stronger enemies in open war, you lose. So we built a different answer. The screen showed the construction of hidden stations, deep space listening arrays, and dark ships built without bright engines. Everything was designed to be unseen, to travel quietly, to observe. We named it the Eternal Hunt, the human said. A counselor laughed nervously. A fear story. The human's eyes did not change. It is a law, he corrected. A survival law. He tapped the screen again. A simple rule appeared in many languages. If attacked, identify the threat. Remove the threat. Prevent its return. The counselors leaned forward. One whispered, remove, how? The human did not smile. Not by burning worlds, he said. That creates hate. Hate creates rebels. Rebels create new wars. He paused, letting the meaning sink in. We removed the ability. The next clips were worse than battles. They showed empires collapsing without knowing why. Leaders disappearing. War factories shutting down overnight. Jump gates failing only for one faction. Supply lines cut without explosions. Governments turning on themselves because their secrets were exposed to the public. No one knew humans were doing it, until it was too late. In every case, the hunted empire survived, but changed into something harmless. Sometimes the population was relocated. Sometimes their fleets were dismantled and their weapons systems erased from databases everywhere. Sometimes their leaders were taken quietly, and replaced by people who wanted peace. The human looked at the council officials. The hunt is not anger, he said. It is correction. One counselor's voice cracked. So what are we to you? The human answered without hesitation. You attacked a human colony for a political show. You made it public. You taught the galaxy that we can be harmed. He stepped closer. So now we must teach a stronger lesson. The chamber lights dimmed, and a new map appeared, council space, marked with red lines. Trade routes, shipyards, command centers, banking networks. Targets. Not to destroy, but to disable. The council officials finally understood. The eternal hunt was not a weapon built to win one war. It was built to end wars forever, by removing anyone who started them. And because the council had attacked first, they were now inside the hunt. There would be no quick surrender. There would be no single battle to end it. Because the hunt only ended when the threat could never rise again. The Galactic Council tried everything. First, they tried silence. They stopped broadcasting. They hid their fear behind closed doors. They told the public that everything was stable, that the pirate issue was under control. They even blamed the disappearances on faulty jump gates. But the galaxy could feel the truth. Ports were half empty. Insurance prices exploded. Traders refused long routes. Whole sectors started locking their borders, not because they feared humans directly, but because they feared what humans might do next. Then the council tried negotiations. They sent a diplomat ship under a white beacon, bright, slow, and easy to see. It carried no weapons. It broadcasted peace codes on every frequency, repeating the same message. We are willing to discuss terms. The ship reached the edge of human space and stopped, waiting for a response. For 12 hours, nothing happened. On the 13th hour, the diplomat ship screens lit up with a single line of text. State your crime. The diplomats froze. They tried to speak, to explain, to offer gifts and apologies. The text changed again. You attacked first. You made it public. You taught others it was safe. The diplomat ship returned to council space without another word. It was not harmed. But the message spread like wildfire, copied by curious crews and leaked by frightened officials. The council's pride cracked. Some member worlds began to panic and break away. Smaller governments feared being hunted just for sharing the council's flag. They wanted to cut ties, to prove they were not part of this mistake. But the hunt did not care about excuses. Human operations began to hit with perfect timing, like invisible hands squeezing a giant machine. Council shipyards lost power for minutes at a time, just long enough to ruin expensive builds. Weapon factories received false orders, changing the mix of materials so entire batches became useless. Fuel depots opened their own locks and vented supplies into space. No explosions. No warnings. Just quiet sabotage that left no clear fingerprints. Then the leadership started to disappear. A famous admiral vanished during a secure meeting, inside a locked military station. Cameras showed him walking into a hallway. The next frame was empty. Doors never opened. Alarms never triggered. A council intelligence chief disappeared mid-flight. His private shuttle arrived at its destination perfectly on time, empty. The council realized what humans were doing. They were removing the hands that held the knife. Finally, the council attempted a full surrender. They gathered every major leader in the Great Hall and transmitted a galaxy-wide statement. The council admitted the human colony strike was wrong. They offered territory. They offered money. They offered technology. They promised to end all future aggression. In the silence after the broadcast, the council waited, hoping for mercy. Then every screen in the hall turned black. A single symbol appeared, the same mark seen on human armor. The hunt mark. A calm human voice spoke through every speaker, steady and cold. You do not get to surrender on your schedule. The council leader stood, shaking. What do you want? The voice answered simply. Safety. The room filled with a quiet sound, like distant wind. For a moment, the air felt heavy. And then the humans arrived. Not with a fleet shining in the sky, but with small craft slipping through security like ghosts. Human soldiers appeared in the hall without breaking doors, without alarms, without warning. They moved with discipline, not rage. Council guards aimed weapons. Their weapons did not fire. Human tech locked them down in seconds. The guards fell, not dead, but helpless. The human commander stepped forward. He was not grand. He was not cruel. He looked tired, like someone finishing an old task. He faced the council leader. You attacked a colony, he said. Not a base. Not a fleet. A colony. The leader tried to speak, but his throat tightened. The commander continued. You wanted to prove we are weak. You wanted to entertain your voters. You wanted a story. He took out a small device and placed it on the council table. It projected a list, names, routes, accounts, plans. Everything the council had hidden. Every secret deal. Every illegal strike. Every threat made behind closed doors. We don't need to burn your worlds, the commander said. We just need to remove the people who keep choosing war. The council leader whispered, if you do this, the galaxy will hate you. The commander did not blink. They already feared us, he replied. Now they will understand the rule. He turned to his soldiers. Begin phase final. Across the galaxy, systems shifted. Council command networks collapsed. War fleets lost access codes. Banks froze the council's funds. Ship captains received new orders from new leadership, leaders chosen not for pride, but for stability.